And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, my name is Tom Vasel, and welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we're taking a look at a game based on a book by Jules Vern, Michael Strogoff. This game here really had my attention. Why? Because Michael Strogoff is one of those books I read as a kid. When I was a kid, my favorite author was Jules Vern. I devoured all his stuff. I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Mysterious Island, and all sci-fi. And I was like, I'm reading everything this guy wrote. And at the library, they had Michael Strogoff. And I was like, ooh, what sci-fi thing is this? It's not. It's a Russian novel of intrigue, and it's also extremely long. Well, most of his books are, but you don't realize that until you read the originals. Very long intrigue, back and forth, excitement, adventure, and also very long, boring passages. But it was about a courier who's going to warn of an assassination attempt made on somebody, and so there's a traitor coming up against him at the end of the novel. Spoilers on a 150-year-old book or whatever. He gets blinded by the bad guys, but at the end, he's not blind. Why? Because he was crying so much right before they blind him that hit the mist from the tears stopped the sword from blinding him, whatever. So, okay, great. That I have fond memories of that. They're bringing this as a board game. Yes, something different, a new theming to a board game. I'm very pleased whenever this happens. Let's take a look at it. In this game, players are couriers trying to get to the army here and defeat the traitor, although there's a possibility that the Tartars will enter into Moscow and defeat Moscow. That die as the Tartars, and then everyone loses. So what players are doing is they're going to be trying to move along this path here. Each player is going to have a turn, then the traitor will have a turn. So this token is placed between two players, and when that comes up, you'll reveal the top action card and do the things at the bottom. One of those things is moving this guy along on this track. Another thing might bring out different personality cards that will help you as the game goes by. And also the Tartars die is going to move, so this one would move to number 9. And when they move to these different spots, it may increase or decrease the die result. So that's what the traitor's going to be doing. What are you doing on your turn? Well, you have 3 actions that you can do. One of them is to journey. So when you journey, you just move into the next box, and you'll draw a card from a matching spot on the board. So when you draw a card, these cards are going to have symbols at the top. These symbols are bad. One of them is not too bad. If you draw one, sometimes they have 2 symbols, you can immediately cancel a symbol here, like a black symbol if it comes up. And the way you would cancel that is if you discard a card from your hand of action cards. So I look at my hand of action cards. Do I have a bear? No, I don't. Or a map. Oh, I do have a map. So I can get rid of this map, and I immediately will cover that one up with a black thing, showing that it's finished. After you travel, no matter what you travel, so let's say I just travel with a bear, you're going to be placing a card in a line here. And if you ever have symbols that are duplicates of each other, so here I don't have any duplicates. Let's say later on I traveled and I add this one here. Now I have duplicate hat symbols. So when that happens, the negative thing on each card happens. Here, it costs me an energy. Here, I turn this card face down. Now, whenever I travel, I have to pay an energy. If I have no energy, I can't travel. If I have any face-down cards, I can't travel. So what do you do in those circumstances? Well, you can rest as your action. Instead of moving, you can rest. One of the things you do when you rest is you can draw more action cards that you can take. You can also go up in energy, and you can flip over a card. And you can do 2 of those things when you rest. Another thing you do is you can resolve dangers. If you happen to have the symbol of the latest card. So I might say, hey, look, I have this, and I can put a black disc on both of these, getting rid of that card. You can only deal with your latest card unless you get rid of 2 cards with the exact same symbol. If you do that, you can cover up one thing on any card. You can also lower an energy to cover up things on cards. So when you cover up cards, these will go away like this, and you can pick one of those cards and put it underneath your character, and it gives you kind of a special ability. At many points during the game, a die is going to be rolled. Here, whenever a 3 is rolled, this character gets to draw a card. Now, whenever a 6 is rolled, he gets to put a black token on one of his negative things that he has. So that's very handy to take care of these. So you're going to do one of those 3 actions. So players are going to be slowly moving back and forth, running into problems. The different cards from the different decks have different actions that they can do. And players will have to be careful when they run into these things, to take care of them. The more symbols you have here, the more possibility of you going bust. Also, if the Tartars ever land on you for whatever reason, you're blinded. You have to draw one of these cards, which shows 2 of these symbols. You can't cover these up. It's put over here. And now you're going to be even more deadly. Anytime one of these symbols is going to pop up, you're going to run into trouble because you're blind. Eventually, players are going to get here, hopefully, because this is going to be moving and you don't want that to get up here to the end. Then the Tartars will start moving over here and could win the game for the computer. But when you get here, you're going to be using a deck of cards. First of all, you have to clear out all these cards through symbols, get rid of all of them, including your blindness and taking energy loss. And then using your remaining energy, you're going to fight the traitor, who's going to draw a card, and it's going to maybe just cause you a loss of energy, or it will have a symbol on it, which you really need to play and match that symbol, or you lose an energy. If you lose all your energy, you're out, you lose. If you don't lose all your energy, you defeated the traitor and win the game. That's pretty much it. Like I said, there's these personalities. If you ever play a card that matches a personality, I play this, you can do whatever the card says. For her, for example, when I play her card, I can use her personality and roll the die, and it only activates my special abilities. And each character, here's Michael Strogoff himself, they have different abilities that you can do. Marie Strogoff at the end, you can use any card as a wild one fighting the traitor. So there's different cards, but these cards are going to pop in and out, and you can only use them if you happen to have that character card in your hand. Anyway, first person to get there wins, unless, of course, everyone loses. The cards are really good quality in this game. They're also fairly easy to understand. I don't usually have a problem understanding all the different action cards. They mean different things. This means draw a character and put them in slot D. The Tartars moving around. I think it's weird that the Tartars are a die. That just seems like a weird representation. I know that it's equal to their strength. If you land on the Tartars, you need to roll higher than their strength or you lose an energy point. That's what that means. But I don't know. The other cards, they show different events that you run into. But there's a lot of the same ones, right? You run into the same thing a lot. They didn't use as much different artwork as I want. And like in the mountains, I don't care what happens, you're fighting a bear. They're all the same. They have different symbols on them, but that's pretty much the extent of it. So the artwork is good, the card quality is good, the board is good, but the whole thing doesn't bring out the story as much as I thought that it might. Now there's no question here that they took the theme of this book and brought it and put it into this game. I mean, that's for sure. As you move across, and even the book itself shows you each location and what happened at that location and how it corresponds to the book. Fantastic. They did a good job. The artwork, everything brings it out. Like I said, I applaud when people are trying to do new things. The game itself isn't nearly as exciting, though. The actual mechanisms of the game, they're not bad. They're just not that exciting. And I think there's a few reasons for that. I think that some of the concepts of the game are pretty neat. The idea of having duplicate things in a pattern before you and where you kind of bust, that's not a bad idea. The idea of using cards from your hand to get rid of those and then using those to kind of buff your special abilities, you get stronger as you go on a journey, that's pretty cool. The idea that you could become blinded, ooh, that's an interesting aspect. I like all that, but there's a couple things that are negative for me about the game. First of all, the game is such a slog. It's like you're running in slow motion because every time you go forward a step or two, you then either bust or you feel like you need to rest, and so you rest and slowly move your energy back up and fix things and fix things and fix things, and now let's get started again. And in fact, it is very possible for the bad guys to win and everyone lose, which is a very unsatisfying ending all around. So once you realize that that's a possibility, and I would imagine many people's first games, everyone loses, and then you're like, oh, we just need to move faster. Okay, that's fine. Now we're moving a little bit faster, and then probably somebody will win, but it still feels a little unsatisfying because this game is just luck all over the place. Some people won't bust because they draw cards at a perfectly luck time. Other people will, roll the die. The Tartars landing on you, blinding you is such a horrifically negative thing that Usually they hit everybody because they're bouncing all over the place. But if they miss somebody, that person's almost guaranteed to win. Because if once you're blind, you really slow down to a slog. And if someone's not blind, they can kind of get there faster. Not only will they get there faster, they have fewer cards to get rid of, and it's easier for them to fight the final guy. So I like all these concepts, and this sort of luck, this push your luck, and this happening, and die rolls, and different people coming out, and you having the right cards in your hand to activate their personalities. I think I would like that if the game was shorter. The game isn't really long as it is. We're talking 45 minutes to an hour, but it feels longer than it should be. And I feel like the amount of luck in there is just too high. So, as I said, the story in the game works as you go through the locations. It's going. Now, of course, if you've never read the book, that doesn't mean anything. I was like, oh, and this is the moment where this happened. And people at the table were like, sure. So far, of all the people I played with, I'm the only person who's read the book. But, so the story is strong, but the game isn't exciting enough, and it feels very linear. It's like, move down this path, and there's no branching paths to take. The decisions are, do I push forward or do I rest? That's really not that exciting of a decision. And then when it comes down to luck with everything else, it's just not that fulfilling. So while I like the book, Michael Strogoff, I'm not sure that I like the game as much. Dice Tower Judgment, more story than game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.